Welcome to Simply Business. I'm your host, Taylor Lee, and I'm so excited to have you here. As a business consultant, I've helped countless business owners simplify their strategies and achieve their goals, and now I'm here to bring you this expertise right to your ears. Each episode, I'll be sharing tips and strategies to help you achieve your business goals without the overwhelm. I will also be chatting with business owners and industry experts to share their stories, insights, and lessons they've learned along the way. Let's dive in and simplify your business. Welcome back to another episode of Simply Business. Today I'm joined by my bestie gal, Lil Ritchie, if you will.
It's so fun doing a podcast with your best friend.
I know.
So fun.
As if that I haven't had you on.
I know. Have you been? You haven't even been on ours. Oh no, Tori interviewed you. I wasn't there.
Yeah, but I'm like, I feel like it's the people you yap with the most. And it's like, no, we've done like 10 podcasts. It's
Literally.
like, oh, we've probably just spoken and been like, this would be such a good podcast
Yeah,
episode.
I actually haven't had the conversation online.
Literally.
Yeah, but we're here.
Literally. For anyone that doesn't know you, which I feel like if you follow along my life, you should know who Lil is. But for a little bit of context, who is Lil?
Okay, my let's say Instagram bio name is Fit with Lily. That gives you a little context of who I am. My whole personality is pretty much fitness. I love bodybuilding. I've competed for the last 3 years within that industry, and I just know that that is going to keep going. I have a podcast, Raw Reality, with my best friend Tori, as well as I'm an online coach. So we kind of have a little bit of everything going on, but it is the best thing ever.
Yeah, I love it. And you came from a athletic background in cheerleading, and that has kind of then translated just in another form of sport now.
100%. Cheerleading was my whole entire life growing up from a young age all the way through to school, started university, traveled overseas multiple times with it. And that is literally, I always say, like, my coaches created the person who I am today. Yes, my parents had a huge impact, but I spent so much time at cheer. And you know, when you always listen to like other parents or other coaches and not your parents, I think that was what it was.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. And I wanted to get you on today because, again, those riffs that we've had, English, those riffs that we've had, I specifically remember the one that we're speaking about. It was New Year's Day last year, 2024. Everyone was hungover. We were at the gym.
Slay.
And we're on the treadmill and we're speaking about comparison. And that's something that I want to bring on because I think a lot of people in the online space struggle with comparison, whether it's through, bodies, whether it's through the business, the life, the relationships, whatever it might be. And I think we both have a similar outlook on comparison, which I'm so excited to go into today along with your journey. And you're the most disciplined person I know. And I hear people online speak about discipline. I'm like, oh, no. no.
Wait till you meet my friend.
Literally. But before we dive into that, the question for the pod, which if you've been listening to the pod, you know the questions that I'm asking all of the guests. You're walking into the boxing ring or you're about to compete bodybuilding, whatever your vibe is, what are you walking onto? And is it Taylor Swift?
It is not Taylor Swift.
Because she's a Swiftie.
I am very much a Swiftie, a Tate McRae type girl, Gracie Abrams. This song I definitely wouldn't walk out to bodybuilding.
Yeah.
I think I would do Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
But for a boxing match, I'm hyping myself up.
Yeah.
I believe that we will win by Pitbull.
I need to have a snippet.
Should I sing a little bit?
Have we got it on the phone?
Yeah, I can get it straight up.
You know what spreads faster than any virus? It's fear. And when it comes to fear, you can either
Just fast forward this
forget
bit.
everything and run.
Ready? Does this hype you up?
Why have I never heard any of these songs?
It hypes me up so much.
I've never heard any of these songs. I need to create a playlist of everyone's like boxing ring songs because I feel like it's going to be so diverse.
That would be elite.
I love it. Interesting. If it had to be Taylor Swift, Tate McRae, what's your go? Like you're walking into a bodybuilding stage.
Taylor Swift is such a random one, but one I love, I actually have two. I have Haunted, which is so random and like very niche for Taylor, and also Long Live.
Yeah.
Those two songs specifically now from the Speak Now album, my favorite.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. It's just like, that's like the representation of you. Like you just have two sides. You're just like grunty in the gym, lifting heavier than like 90% of men. And then you're like on stage, like glam, beautiful,
that is
like
so
T-swizzle.
true.
Like you were just like the definition of like two opposite sides come together.
Yeah, that's a very yin and yang type personality.
Literally. Yeah. I would love to know then too, and you might apply this more to like your life, bodybuilding journey, relationships or business. What has been one of the most challenging things that you've navigated and the biggest lesson that you've extracted from that?
Probably literally what you spoke about previously on a podcast with Cade, which he did tell me about, and him and you are constantly in my ear about, but it's very like imposter syndrome with business. I don't believe that I'm or have been previously like good enough to be a good coach, to be a good podcaster, to be a good influencer. I always put other people above me. And that has definitely taught me so many lessons, because for a long time I've been like undercharging myself, or I don't believe I should up my prices. I also have my empathy side to me is extremely strong, and it's probably my biggest strength but also my biggest weakness, because it takes away from my worth. I want to be able to help everyone, and I'm like, okay, well, if I can't up my prices, I can't help this person, and I really want to help that person. And then equally, I feel like I shouldn't up my prices because I'm not good enough to. So that has definitely been my biggest lesson within business, is to not underestimate myself. I didn't get here from luck or just showing up one day. I did it from like hard work and putting all the stones in place to be able to get here. So it's just constantly learning that like, no, you are enough and you can be enough, and to go all in on that.
And for you as well, with like the relationship dynamic that you came from, where that was just like created so much evidence for you of just like, you know, that being taken advantage of, like the empathetic side of you, because you were the most loving, like you could call her with anything and she'd be there, but it's like, again, like you said, it's the most loving side of you and it's the biggest strength.
Yeah.
But it's equally something that unfortunately people have taken you for a ride for in the past.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why I think it is like years and years and years of, I'm not going to call it trauma, but like a belief within my head that has been built up. So it doesn't take one night to be able to get out of that mindset. You actually have to constantly put it in play to get out of it. And I've definitely gotten so much better the past year, but there's still so much work to do as well.
Yeah. And I think it's like a huge level of like acknowledgement is the first part of like acknowledging, okay, this is why that's a story for me and a belief for me. But then like you said, having the right people around you as well to then choose different, because it's like, you know, Cade, myself, whoever wouldn't be saying it if there's not the logical evidence to support it. And now for you, it's just creating evidence of like, no, bitch, like you're fucking insane at what you do.
Yeah.
And it's even beyond deliverables. I think even for people listening to this too, it's so easy to get caught in, oh, but like, do I give enough? Do I do this? It's like seeing the value that we offer is beyond the tangible, which I struggle with as well. It's like, you know, okay, well, why would someone want to be friends with me if I can't offer them X, Y, and Z that's like so tangible versus like, but just the person that you are? Like, when do you ever think that with like friends, right? I'm like, I'm friends with Lil because she can offer me coaching advice and this and that. It's like, that's not the thing. It's like your personality, how fun you are, your energy, like how loving and empathetic you are. I'm like, that's why I want to be your friend.
Yeah, that comes a lot up in relationships too, where you're like, well, my partner's so much better than me. He's going to do he's making more money than me. He's more successful than me. He has more friends than me. He's going to break up with me because he has all this and I don't. A lot of people get in that mindset and they almost like sabotage themselves, where it's like, no, he just loves you for the person that you are, not for all of those things. Like you said, that's like evidence or tangible things. Like, no, it's just like you as a person, just building up that self-worth.
Yeah, 100%. I would love to kind of like, if you're happy to go there in that journey for you, because I feel like being your friend and seeing that transition, like that has shaped you to become like such a strong version of yourself. I would love a little bit of your journey just from like, even like the cheer days, right? And like competing and like growing up through your 20s, really finding yourself to where you are now. Like you've created arguably the dream life, right? Like the career, the body, the mindset, the friendships, the partner, where you live, like that's been a journey for you as well. For anyone listening that hasn't been a part of that, what's that journey looked like and what's it taught you?
It has been a crazy journey since cheerleading. That was obviously where everything, I'm going to say, started for me. My competitive nature, just like working in such a disciplined environment with like determination. You do one thing wrong, you essentially get punished for it, I guess. And that has probably translated into other areas of my life as well. So once I finished cheer, I really lost like a spark within me, because I was like, I don't have anything to train for. I don't have a purpose. I started studying, well, I was studying, and I graduated with a Bachelor of Commerce, majoring marketing and HR. And I went into that industry. So like I just didn't find my feet there. I didn't enjoy it. So I also wasn't enjoying my life. At that time, I had another partner and we were together for like a very long time. So I lived in Adelaide and Perth I'm originally from Melbourne, so I lived in 2 different states with him as well, traveling for his work. So I always felt like I was doing things for other people because I was constantly like following him around and doing all of that. I started dabbling in some running. I competed in like a half marathon and things like that to keep that competitive edge there. But still, I just like did not have that fire within me. It was around COVID time where we moved back to Melbourne and I started getting way more into the gym, started my social media page. And then a coach approached me saying like, you should compete. Like, I've seen you train, you have the perfect body for it, like a really good foundation. Probably now, like at the time I was like, oh my God, he's come up to me. Now he just wanted clients, like realistically. Yeah. But he started my whole entire journey. So like, I'll take it. And from there, I competed in my first show. That whole year, I went from working in a like marketing degree to studying my Cert 3 and 4 to quitting marketing to working at BodyFit to then also starting my own online business. 2 weeks before I competed in nationals, I quit my job and then went all in on my coaching business. And from there, like literally, I'm going to say from that first comp, like my life literally changed because I knew how much I wanted to do it, what it meant to be, and I fully felt like I had purpose. Equally though, it felt like a step back in life because you graduated with a full degree, a Bachelor of Commerce, and then all of a sudden you're studying a Cert 3 and 4. And for someone who's come from like an academic school and success-driven friends and family, it's almost like, oh, what are you doing? Why aren't you using that degree? And for so long, I kind of beat myself down for it until I started my own business. And then I was like, no, okay, this is actually what I'm meant to be doing. And then throughout that time, I had like the highest highs of my life and equally the lowest lows of my life with my ex-partner. I was going through a really hard time with him and I felt like I lost a part of myself. Us girls went to Europe and that is where my life changed. Broke up with my ex, moved to Queensland, started going all in on socials, all in on my self journey and like building my confidence back up because for so long that was like ripped away from me. And I felt like I was constantly doing things to please others or make them happy rather than myself. So that was a whole journey in itself. And then I competed again. My business kept growing. Our podcast kept growing. Socials kept growing. And then my environment just got better and better. And then now I'm here.
Yeah. Tell me why I'm teary. Like, classic. Because I'm just like, oh, like, it's so cool to just hear where you just constantly chose, like, the uncomfortable thing.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it was so easy to just, like, go with the degree. It was so easy to just, like, stay with the partner that was, like, the long-term relationship that, like, made sense or whatever from the outside looking in, but you knew what you wanted. Then you moved states. That, like, you constantly chose the wrong thing by the book.
Well, it's even when we were all planning Europe, I think this decision was the biggest, which doesn't seem big to anyone else, but I wanted to only do half our trip of Europe because I was like, my ex didn't really want me going at the time either. So I was like, okay, perfect. To make him happy, I'll do half the trip.
Just classic.
Yeah, it's just classic. And then the girls decided to completely rehaul the whole entire trip in terms of like places, and it didn't make sense for me to go halfway. It meant I missed the whole of Greece, which I didn't want to do. So I ended up going the whole time, and it was probably only by the 3rd week when I would have left earlier is when everything started to change and I felt like myself. So if I didn't choose that uncomfortable and go down that path, I think my life would be very different.
I completely forgot that.
Yeah.
And so true.
Yeah.
And even as well, like, for context for our Europe trip, we'd met you twice. Before that.
3rd time was in London. We met.
And it was like a dinner in Gold Coast and then a dinner in Melbourne and like the night in Melbourne.
Oh, and then New Year's.
Oh, yes.
But that was like the other time.
But we'd already we were planning Europe in New Year's. So
crazy.
Wild.
I know. Yeah.
And I think it's just that when you're in your 20s too, just like doing things that don't necessarily make sense. Like even for me, I'm the same with my degree. I didn't even graduate. 2 subjects left and I was just like, oh, fuck it, business. Like this, like it's when you do things that don't make sense that creates results that don't make sense, which I think a lot of people need to take away from that as well.
That's a very good way to put it because we always go with easy answer, something that makes sense because technically that's going to keep you on the same path. Yeah, it's going to keep you on the same path to what you think you're going to do. It's the decisions you make that go off the path, that is actually what leads to success because everyone does the same thing every single day. What can you actually do that's different, that's uncomfortable? That is what's going to get you because no one else is doing it.
Yeah, and I think people think that discomfort is like resistance and it's like, oh, resistance isn't like a good thing. It should be easy. It should be like #aligned where that's actually the thing that's going to get you the results, is the thing that feels really eerie. And it's like, this could either be the best decision of your life or the worst, but like, you'll never know.
You reckon Elon Musk wakes up every single day thinking, oh, what am I feeling today? What should I do? What's in flow? What's easy? Perfect. Like, no. He's choosing the hardest, most uncomfortable thing you can possibly do, and that has given him the most results.
Yeah, and that's where I want to take this into bodybuilding now. And I think bodybuilding just gets to be like the outlet for you, and in context to this, and people listening, you can apply it to business or whatever it might be. But I think bodybuilding is such a cool sport in that regard, where it's like, it is so hard. And something that also baffles my mind, with so much respect to bodybuilding athletes, is like, you can commit like so much time, energy, effort, sacrifice, discipline to literally not even get an award.
To literally get second call outs, and that might not mean anything to anyone, but you can place first at one comp. 2 years later, you work so hard, day in, day out. 2 years later, you come back, you don't even place. And you have to be okay with that.
It's fucking wild.
And it's terrifying. Like, not going to lie, it's terrifying. But you know that before heading in.
Yeah. Talk to me about that with bodybuilding. What do you believe, like, you're someone that's had in your career so far in bodybuilding such great success. What do you think has separated you from other athletes from the mindset perspective? Because like, no one can, like, you could wave like and dangle any kind of carrots and Lil's just like, you don't even bat an eyelid. What do you think it is with your mindset? And even again, if we were to go like deep into bodybuilding, you know, people that like they'll binge out on food afterwards. And of course, like, it's not to go into that conversation, but you are so just like dedicated to the cause. Like, why do you think that is with your approach to the sport?
Naturally, I'm a very competitive person, but the second I have a goal or I want to do something, I will do it, like no ifs, no buts. I do believe like I am really good at bodybuilding. Like, I am very disciplined, but I can flip switches. So I think that's what has caused me so much success, because I'm not, well, yes, I am one side of the pendulum when I'm on prep, but when I'm off, I'm not like, okay, switches off, all discipline goes out the window, binging, doing all the things. Okay, prep starts, back on again. I love it so much that it's like a year-round thing for me. So as soon as like the comp ends and I step off stage, my eye is on the next comp. So I know that what I do from that very moment is going to affect my results the next time. It's going to affect my mindset the next time. So I'm constantly looking in the future now. Not necessarily that's a good thing, but it has helped me significantly to actually like stay on track. I always want to be the best version of myself, and bodybuilding's a sport where no one can do the work for you. It's not like a team sport where someone can let you down and you lose, even though if you're perfect. I know that the only person who can get the results is me. So I have to rely on me. And if something goes wrong, well, it's my fault. If I miss a set, well, it's my fault. So no one else can get the result but me. And I think that has definitely helped me stay a lot more on track towards my goals. Then when you're in prep, there's just like no ifs, no buts. If you make a small little exception as, okay, I'm just going to miss my steps for today. If you miss your steps by 500, it is not going to make a difference at all. But what will, it's going to weaken your mindset to believe that, okay, I can miss 500 steps, so you miss them the next day. Then maybe in 2 weeks' time, you miss 1,000. And the next week, it's like, okay, don't even worry about steps today. I'll do it the next day. Like, you constantly keep falling into that trap. So if you're on 100% from get-go, that is just going to keep in play.
Yeah, and I think like having the bigger picture in mind is actually so important, whether you apply this to something like business. I think it's so often people can get caught up in literally the shiny object, right? So it's like get on stage and like post that on Instagram, where for you, it's not about that. It's a cool piece to the puzzle, but it's so much bigger, which I think is an important lesson to apply to anything. Yeah. And even with that too, when you said like the small parts, I think even in like business, it's like we can even just settle for like what we need to do, like what's required versus like what's like something so small, so tiny, responding to one more DM, like whatever the thing is that you can do in a day that compounds, because it's actually that compounding effect.
That is what it is as well. Everyone is going to follow their diet. Well, when you're going to like the top level of like competing, everyone's going to follow their diet. Everyone's going to train. Everyone's going to have an off season. Everyone's going to do everything. The only thing that's going to get you that 2% better is actually by going above and beyond. It's like hitting failure, having whole foods, getting in sleep, 7 hours to 8 hours, huge difference. Yeah. Lowering your stress levels significantly, like 30 minutes a day to yourself. And it's also though, if your coach says 12,000 steps, don't do 15,000 steps. Like it's also kind of finding that balance because I know a lot of girls who would go above and beyond, but it's like their body adapts differently. So it's like your mindset has to go above and beyond, not your actions. That's the biggest thing with bodybuilding.
Yeah, and it's literally following the plan, right?
Yeah.
It's like it's the same with like let's just use like posting frequency on social media. Some people will be like, okay, I'm gonna like post an extra post on social media, and yes, there'll be some gurus that are like, post as much as you can, but it's like, okay, but if you don't have the right plan and the right strategy, you're actually burying yourself in a deeper grave versus actually just trusting the process of what someone's told you to do.
Yeah.
And I heard like with the compounding effect, this was like the biggest game changer for me as an analogy. You can like not brush your teeth like one day. No one will probably notice. You probably won't notice. You go a few days, you'll probably start noticing. You'll go a week or two, people feel like, oh, you have like a smelly breath. Like people will be able to tell. You go like a year, 2 years, 5 years without brushing your teeth are falling out. There's no like reverse of that.
That's a really cool way of looking at it.
And I'm like, it's the same, right, with like the reps, because like I can be guilty of this in training, like full transparency. Where it's like, oh yeah, like 10 reps instead of 12, but it's like that. Like 2 reps has a fucking compounding effect in whatever area you're applying it to for what you're progressing towards.
Because if you're already then choosing the slightly easier option, you're already training your mind to think of slightly easier things throughout the day without even meaning it. So much happens subconsciously.
Yeah.
By the end of prep, I'm parking on the other side of the car park without thinking of it. Right now, I'm parking as close as I can to the door because I don't need to do that. But then as soon as prep starts, you're like, okay, you have to constantly think of it to do the thing. And the more you do the thing, the easier it gets. You don't even think about it at the end. Like you said with brushing your teeth, you don't even think about it anymore. It's just something you do because you've compounded actually doing it.
Yeah. Well, our conscious mind takes up 5%. Our unconscious is 95%. So we need to train the programming of that to always choose. And something my dad always used to say to us, which I don't necessarily know if it was healthy, but he was like, catch yourself being lazy. And I'm like, it's always the same with like just the small things. Like I can do that tomorrow. It's like, just catch that and literally just choose different because that's what you're normalizing as your baseline, exactly like you said.
That's a good way of looking at it.
And I'm like, this is actual, like in my eyes and my perspective at least, like this is actual discipline. I think we can sometimes associate discipline with like your David Goggins, right?
Yes.
Or like your Ned, what's his? Brockman.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like the people that are just like the extremists, which is like sick and hats off, respect, insane scenes. But it's like, to me, especially for Gen Pop, I think when we see discipline, that's what we associate it to. So then it feels like such a big gap and it feels like there's too much separation for your general person or business owner to be someone that's disciplined, where I just love that you're actually just simplifying. It's like, it doesn't actually have to be super complex.
A lot of people look at the word discipline and they're scared of it. They think it's hard. They think it's scary. They think it's this whole entire thing. But at the end of the day, discipline is literally just self-love and devotion. If you love yourself enough to want to achieve a goal, you're just going to be disciplined. And it's almost like turning the phrase around. If you think discipline is like a negative connotation, don't use that word anymore. Just think, okay, I need to build up this habit. Because that habit is literally the same thing as discipline. It doesn't have to be running 30 Ks a day for 10 days straight. I was actually listening to Grace Beverly this morning talking about discipline. And she said especially females will actually say they're not disciplined because they think of discipline as such a big thing. They're like, oh no, I don't run 10 Ks every single morning. But you're actually disciplined enough to write your to-do list, to tick those things off, to cook dinner, to go grocery shopping. Those are the small things that actually make the difference. It's not doing all these crazy attributes because that's huge goals that other people have. Discipline is actually small little habits that just add up through the day.
And if we can't acknowledge like the small things that we're doing, why do we think we're going to be able to acknowledge like the big things that we're doing? Like at the end of the day, if you can't acknowledge that, even if it's in a fitness journey, like if right now you being disciplined is hitting your 4 sessions in a week, even if they're not the full reps, the full sets, like whatever, that's actually a win. And if you can't acknowledge that, then you're not going to be able to acknowledge how you can take it a step further.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you feel like, especially being in the fitness space as a coach, separates the people that gets results versus the people that don't get results?
I would say victim mentality and patience. Those are the 2 biggest things. I'm going to go with patience first, is people think they need results right this second. I do struggle as a coach to tell people that's going to take a whole year because of who wants to sign up and say it's going to take a whole year. But do you think I think I started training properly. Like I did cheerleading my whole entire life. I've built up that that baseline. But I started training the gym in 2020, I'm pretty sure it was, or even 2021. It's taken like 4 years, 5 years to get to where I am now. it's going from like having a pancake to a peach in 4 years, not in a quick 6-week program. It takes so long. And don't look at it as that whole long journey. Just look at it day by day, because then you're going to look back and be like, oh my God, thank God I started, not stopped when I thought I wasn't getting results. They take so much longer than you think. And then also the victim mindset or the mentality when they think that everything around them is like hard, or they're constantly in the negative mindset. They're like, I couldn't get to the gym today because this happened, this happened, this happened. And yeah, of course, that's going to be life. It's going to happen now and then. But the people who actually want the results will make it work, and they're not going to find all these excuses. There's so many things that happen in my life where no way do I want to get to the gym. Like, I was in off season, did not need to go train, broke up with my partner that morning, 7 years, went to the gym 2 hours later. Not because I wanted to, but because that's just like what I did. And what's that going to do if I'm just sitting there crying at home? May as well just go do something. So I think that's the biggest thing that people get lost in, or they'll be like, I didn't have groceries, so I went through Macca's. Didn't have groceries, literally walk out of your car, go to 7-Eleven. They've got much better options.
Yeah, be
it's just those
resourceful.
tiny little things. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Something you said about like the journey, like the 4 years of how long it's taken you to grow your booty, like all of the things. And this is the conversation we've had about comparison in the past, which I want to bring onto this podcast because I was literally saying to Lil, we're walking on the treadmill, I'm like, one thing I don't understand about comparison is like, it's almost just another way of tapping into being a victim and being poor me when that we do compare, because it doesn't actually make sense that I compare to Lil from a physical body perspective. Yes, we've got genetics and our body's going to be different. But if I look at you and I go, you're lean, you have insane muscles, you've got amazing glutes, you're so strong. What a fucking like cop out to you.
Yeah.
Based on all of the time, energy, effort that you've put into training, hitting your sessions, macros, like all of the things. How does it make sense that I compare when I'm literally not doing the same thing as you?
Exactly.
And I'm like, yes, with the online spaces, it can be a bit hard with, say, business, but it's like, okay, what does like comparing, like how's that a benefit to you? Because you get secondary gain from complaining about it, right? And it's like, and you don't have to look at something. So for as long as I compare to you and go, Lil's got the results, I don't have to train hard.
Yeah.
Like you get secondary gain to it. And I'm like, I feel like especially in the like bodybuilding physical space, comparison can be such a huge thing, especially online.
Yeah.
But I'm like, it literally makes
No sense.
no sense. Like if we actually unpack it, it makes no sense.
Yeah. It's also at the end of the day, comparison is just a form of jealousy. You're jealous of what someone else has because you're not doing that. I always say there's a difference between being inspired by someone and comparing yourself to someone. And yes, we all do it. Even I do it. But at the end of the day, I do it because when I compare, I immediately put someone else on a pedestal. And for no reason at all. Like you don't know actually what they do in comparison to you do. Let's say someone has bigger delts than me. I'm like, oh my gosh, they've got bigger delts than me. I've been trying for so long and I'm not doing it. Realistically, they actually could have been training for 10 years and I've been training for 5. They could have been doing, for example, they could be on performance enhancing drugs. I'm natural. There's so many other factors that go into that. So it's like, why are you constantly comparing yourself to other people when there doesn't literally make sense? Let's say, for example, to kind of taking out the body image, Tori's very like a lot more calm than me. If you know our friendship dynamic, I'm like very sporadic and she's very calm. And I, for the longest time, I was like, something's wrong with me. I'm like, I'm constantly stressed and anxious and on the go, chaotic type energy. And she's constantly calm and it just must be her hormones and things like that. And she's gotten to this point. Cool. End of the day, she journals, she saunas, she listens to podcasts, she walks, she does all the things that actually make her nervous system calm. I actually didn't do any of that. So I was comparing myself for things I wasn't even doing. The second I started implementing them, I stopped comparing because I'm like, well, I'm doing them and it's making me feel better. No, I'm not perfect. No, I'm not up to that level, but I feel so much better for it. So you always compare when you know you're not doing enough.
It's always a mirror. And it's like, rather than blaming the mirror that you're looking at, like looking in, look at what's like, it's reflecting back to you.
Yeah.
Because people can be our triggers can be our biggest teachers in the most productive way. And of course, there's also a level where we can also take it 75 layers deep and it doesn't need to be deep. Sometimes it can just be as simple as, wow, that person actually inspires me exactly like you said. But I think it's so important for people listening because it's like, okay, for as long as you are comparing, what don't you have to look at and what benefit do you get? And it's like, what's the lesson in it for for you?
That is a question I always ask my clients when they're like, I'm constantly comparing myself to my friend or to someone else. I'm like, okay, what are they currently doing that you think is benefiting them? And then they'll be like, oh, well, they're going for like 2 walks per day, or they're always like bringing their meal prep. I'm like, okay, cool. Let's implement those few habits that you feel like that's going to help you. The second they do that, they're like, oh, I'm not comparing anymore. I'm like, I'm feeling good within myself. I'm like, yeah, because you're doing the things that you're meant to actually be doing, and you only compare when you are jealous.
Literally. It's coming into a little bit more logic, which I think as females we struggle to do, and then we like go and get advice, whether that be from our partner, and then they hit us with the logic and it's like, no, you're wrong.
Oh,
and it's
I hate logic.
but it's like, it literally is that, right? Where it's like, if we actually just took a moment, had a deep breath, zoomed out and understood what was actually in it for us to learn, I think there's so much benefit for us coming into logic, especially in like the business standpoint as well. I feel like, and this might even relate into like your bodybuilding, business, all of the things. I think there's a level of like the problems that we choose too. And I think we can always choose like lower level problems, quote unquote, or higher level problems. And I had literally had a client the other day, and she'll laugh listening to this because she's a friend of mine. She was like, I'm just struggling with like how I should lay out like my link tree. And she's like really trying to grow a business. And I was like, lovingly, this is not the problem you're bringing to me. Like, choose higher level problems. And I think that's something for even like with the comparison, it's not to diminish your emotions and pretend that something's not true and doesn't exist for you when you are really struggling with something like comparison. But it's like, what are the problems we're going to choose? And I feel like that's something that you're good at, especially in a season of prep. Like, all right, like because you are so dialed in, like what are the problems I'm choosing? Is the problem I'm choosing that I'm not allowed to have the chocolate? Or is it going to be, am I choosing a different problem?
Well, you see people constantly play into like, oh, like I'm like in prep, like I'm so hungry, I'm so tired, and I would love to eat that right now. They're playing into that. The more you play into something, the more you're going to believe it, the harder it is to get through it. The deeper I get into prep, the more I don't worry about that, because again, it comes like decision fatigue is so real, especially when you get into the deep phases. Why am I using all of my brain power to have that problem of like, I can't eat that, I can't do this? It's like, I decided I don't want to do that. If I really want that, I can have it. So that's actually not a problem for me. Stop making the little things that you decide a problem. Or it's like when a client is in a deficit phase and they make a big deal about bringing their meal prep out. And I'm like, you don't have to do that. You're choosing to do that. So don't make it a problem. Don't make it an issue. And you get to decide at the end of the day what your choice actually is. So we always constantly, I guess that falls back into like the victim mindset. At the end of the day, like you get to choose your direction and your path and what decisions you make to get you where you are. So the end of the day is just like the client and even like myself, you need to constantly choose the bigger problems, the harder problems, because that is going to probably deter you to the bigger things.
Literally, and it ties back into what you were saying at the start with like, you know, choosing the hard, right? Like going against the grain. It's like, okay, do we want our problems to be like, and again, it's like, it's not that like sometimes they're like lower level problems, but okay, do I want my problem to be dealing with a partner that isn't supportive at the end of the day and insert all of the other things? Or do I want my problem to be moving to the Gold Coast, you know, being away from my family, which you already were? Like, do I want to be dealing with the problem of the breakup or that for the rest of my life too? So I think it's even, and it's not necessarily that it's always a lower level and a higher level problem. Like they can still both be problems, but it's choosing what one you want to deal with.
That's a really good way to put it. When I was kind of in that space, I've been putting up with like things week after week, even like year after year. So the same things like kept coming up. I was dealing with the same problem. If the same problem keeps getting put in front of you, if you're not growing business, if you're constantly fighting with your partner, if you feel like you're stuck in the hometown and you keep having that problem, you're choosing the wrong problem to have. Like literally choose another one, choose the hard decision. Okay, I'm breaking up with my partner. I'm moving states. I'm going to deal with how I'm moving. A lot of people be like, okay, I want to move states, but I'm scared. I don't know how to get a job and I don't know how to move, but I'm constantly stuck in my hometown and I'm not growing. Okay, well, you're choosing that problem to not grow, or you can move and then choose all the other problems later, which are going to help you expand.
Yeah, it's so true. And it's like when you're in a position of like you have to make it work, you just will.
Yeah.
Like, yes, if you do have the safe option just there, of course you're going to fall back to it. And I think there's like a fine line between having the safety net that you literally need in terms of like having a plan B if that you need. And I think that creates a lot of safety to then just throw yourself into the deep end, because it's like this is always here. Like if you know you've got some kind of structure. I was literally just speaking to a client before I came into this and she's like, I think I want to quit my job. And I was like, okay, what's the reason you got the job in the first place? Okay, it wasn't for financial side of things. Okay, cool. Like just fully like take a moment to plan. Like if you're listening to this and you're like, okay, might break up with the partner, might move, like whatever. Okay, what's your plan B that you fall back on that feels good? Like you will survive at the end of the day. And then just like send it and see what happens because you never know what comes from it. I think you're such great evidence of that, of literally just being like, this makes no sense. Like buy the book, but here we are.
That's a really good way also is to constantly think like if you always have the fallback option, yes, it can be like a negative thing because then you constantly think, oh, it's all good. Like I'm not going to follow this path because I've got plan B. But at the end of the day, as humans, we crave safety. So if you are wanting to completely like change your life or move states, quit your job, break up with your partner, enter a competition or whatever, and it's really scary, as long as you know that like without it, you're going to be okay, you're going to be fine at the end of the day. Like if I knew that I moved to Queensland, I hated it, I'd move back to Melbourne. I knew that if I started Body Fit and I quit like my degree and things like that, there are so many jobs. I could literally go work at a cafe for like a few months, find my feet again. Got halfway through prep, didn't like it, quit, keep loving the gym.
Yeah.
People make such a big deal out of like small little things. So it's just like constantly know that you're going to be safe no matter what decision you decide.
And it's catching as well where it's like, okay, is this like ego or is this me? Because it's so often, right? So when we think to even using the example of your degree or going to Body Fit and then quitting, getting into prep and then quitting, like I see it often when I see people that are like so close to getting on stage and it's like, I had to drop out and it's like such a big thing, right? And it's like, because there's so much ego in it. It's like truly no one cares. No one's paying as much attention as you are to your life. And it's like, I swear half of it is in like the deal that you make out of it, which is all just coming from ego.
Bodybuilding is probably the most, I'm going to say like egotistical sport because you're getting compared like on your body, right? You step on stage, it's like glam, it's tan, it's makeup, it's everything. Like your ego has to take over at some point slightly there. But also if that's the only driving force, you're not going to be in it for the long run. You're going to step on stage and that's going to be it. And then you're probably going to have a bad relationship with your body, with gym and with food after because you're in it from the wrong reason. I think it's looking at ego and using it in a positive way to drive you and not in a negative way because the most successful people in the world, they have high ego and they're confident, but it's not their only driving force. Their passion is their driving force, their determination, the success, that is everything that pushes them. And it's very like similar to come back to me. Like, yeah, of course, like bodybuilding, I post it online. Like I'm not posting it online just for myself. So I'm the only one that can see my journey. Like, of course I love sharing it with other people, but at the end of the day, if I took that away, I would still compete in the sport. Yeah. So it's also looking at confidence and ego can help you, but it can also drag you down.
100%. And I think, ego has such a bad rap. And I think we always see ego, like when people hear it, it's like, oh yeah, it is the guy at the gym that's like grunting and like lifting the big heavy weights. It's like, that's not actually ego. Ego is designed to keep us safe. So it is that thing that is going to question like we want to keep ourselves safe from harm. So if we've learned that, you quit something growing up and you copped backlash from that, love was removed, of course your ego is going to protect you at all costs so it doesn't happen again. I'm like, your ego is literally a safety guard. Like it's actually something that's very, very productive, but it has a bad rap. But then it's just being able to check, okay, is this my ego acting for me or is this actually me in that moment as well?
Yeah, and it can be so hard, but it's just self-awareness and coming down to what do you actually want to do and why are you doing those things as well.
Yeah, I love it. I feel like let's wrap it there. I'm like, that was just such a good conversation. I'm like, I've just loved seeing that side of you because I feel like, yes, we see it on like your potty, but I'm like it's so different being interviewed, I feel.
100%. I also feel like I have two different personalities. Yeah. The second bodybuilding and gym and fitness gets involved, like I'm a completely different, not completely different person, but like the side of like self-trust and self-belief and like everything comes out. Yeah. And then I've got the other side, which is like so much compassion and love and bubbly. So it is fun to actually like be able to put both sides on the internet.
Yeah. And people just to see your journey a little bit more as well. Which is cool. But thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate it so much.
Thank you for having me.
If you guys liked today's episode, be sure to share it on your socials, tag us. If you want more of Lil, Raw Reality
Yes.
is where you can find her. They have so much cool shit in store for 2025. It's not even fucking funny.
Yeah, we do. There's a lot happening, but in the best way possible.
Yeah, so good. Well, thank you so much. And I will catch you all in next week's episode.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
And that wraps up another episode of Simply Business. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to today's episode. If that you enjoyed today's conversation, please feel free to share it onto your socials and tag me. I love seeing all of your shares and feedback on the episode. If that you're feeling extra generous, please feel free to follow me over on Instagram, Facebook, or TikTok at Taylor Lee Consulting. And a like and subscribe wherever you listen to this podcast would be greatly appreciated. I'll catch you in the next episode.